For Twitch, configure the multi-stream service star. Go live working on your live stream. Update settings for TikTok. Update settings for Twitch. Configure the multi-stream service star.
Shut up! Alright. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another live video. Last time I reacted to a video of Roman Reigns from 2014 to 2020, and I say this video, and today we're going to be reacting to a video of Monday Night Raw from 2017 to 2019. I mean, no, 2018 and 2019. Now, I wasn't watching wrestling during that time, but I did see clips of it, and some of the clips, I ain't gonna lie, it kind of made me cringe. But enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Blitz coming on the scene. You step to me and you're gonna get cream. But enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Blitz coming on the scene.
WWE's flagship program Monday Night Raw will make the move to Netflix, leaving standard cable and making its way onto one of the most popular video-on-demand platforms in the world. And naturally, with a huge move like that, with something that hasn't been seen in the wrestling world before, comes a lot of excitement. Triple H said that the show will no longer be censored and they'll have more freedom with the content that they can air. Even though the move hasn't happened yet, there's intrigue on how the show will look aesthetically. How will it differ from the standard Raws we have now? Will it be commercial free? And just how unhinged will the show get? This year we've already had our fair share of craziness happen on the
Man, people complain about WWE today. They obviously wouldn't know a bad Raw and SmackDown if hit them in the face, because today's wrestling, I think, is great. Is it perfect? Far from it. But is it great? But is it bad? No, it is not bad at all. I'm gonna stand on this. Today's wrestling is far way better than what we was getting from 5 years, like 6 years ago. You know, so I don't know why people complain about that, but it beats me.
Red brand. The big peak points being the March 25th episode where the final boss murdered Cody Rhodes to end the show and had the entirety of the wrestling world buzzing because the segment was absolutely epic. Also the June 17th episode where the Wyatt Six debuted and murdered everyone. So I guess if you close Raw with it,
are they still going with this faction? Because I haven't seen them around. Like, Alexa Bliss gotta be in this story because she was part of the Wyatt family. That's all I'm thinking.
a cliffhanger that nearly kills someone, you have a winner. Anyways, the complaint for Raw since it moved to 3 hours has always been the runtime. Oftentimes in many years it's felt like a chore to sit through, and if you fill something up with good content, then it's a different story. But at times the show has been at the absolute bottom of the barrel and just nothing has been going on. No time was that more evident than 2018 and 2019. Raw was quite literally the most nothing happening show you could possibly consume. Right now, if you look at Monday Night Raw, there's different elements to keep your eyes on, and that's happening on the weekly. Progression happening with characters, the rise of Braun Breaker, the Punk and Drew McIntyre storyline, the Intercontinental Champ.
Braun Breaker reminds me so much of Brock Lesnar when he was younger. Like, Brock Lesnar when he was younger was tearing through everything. He was fast, he was big, he had structure. Triple H, I know he's going to push Braun Breaker to the limit. Like, he's going to be pushing him. Well, but he's taking the right approach with him. He's trying to book him right. He's trying to book him at the right time to be in that main card. Because you book him like too fast, he's going to start getting repetitive, start going to get boring. Same thing with Damian Priest. He's booking them at the right time. People may not like him, but at least they can understand that he's booking him at the right time.
Championship division is finally alive. I know it's not for everyone, but the cinematic way in which Bo Dallas's group is being presented. So on the weekly, there's something for you to sink your teeth into, and the booking doesn't feel compulsive. even though it's far from perfect and Triple H has his crutches that he always reverts to. However, in these 2 years, nothing was happening on Raw. Raw was so downright nauseating that even the hardest of hardcore WWE fans couldn't defend nor stomach this show, a time where viewership on the weekly was hitting new lows. For anyone who wasn't watching at the time, I'm sure the first thing you think is there's no way it could have been that bad. Right? Maybe it's just the normal YouTuber hyperbole where everything is magnified and it actually wasn't that bad. I'll put it to you like this. By the end of 2019, these 2 years featured 8 of the 10 lowest rated Raws of all time.
Damn.
On the weekly, fans were given a 3-hour empty calorie serving, repeat matches, boring storylines, and zero character progression, with huge pitfalls in what happened to stars that fans wanted to see at the top of the card, especially those who organically got over or had any sense of hype coming out of NXT. It seemed like every Monday the show was labeled as the worst episode yet, a week after that same headline had been made about the previous Raw. I want to take you back to a time where nothing was happening on Raw. I want to take you back and look through some of the most controversial storylines, some big time fumbles, and the mess that was on Monday nights.
Hey,
so grab some food, a drink or two, and let's relive Monday Night Raw from 2018 to 2019, or as I'm calling it, Monday Night Raw from Hell. So where were we to start 2018? Jason Jordan was Raw Tag Team Champion alongside Seth Rollins after he was revealed to be Kurt Angle's long-lost son the year
Stupid ass storyline. Jason Jordan don't look nothing like Kurt Angle.
previous. Nia Jax was in love with Enzo Amore.
I need to figure out what happened to him. I haven't heard from him in a long time. She got better now, but I know back then she was just rubbish.
And your premier rivalry was Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Jason Jordan taking on Curtis Axel, Bo Dallas, and The Miz. Meanwhile, the world champion Brock Lesnar was nowhere to be found and was essentially holding the Universal Championship hostage.
Vince loves his part-timers. He really loves his part-timers. He loved them. He was giving Brock Lesnar so much that he's decided to bury talent. That's all he did.
That's a quick lay of the land, but our problems really escalate after WrestleMania 34. In 2024, WrestleMania felt like the finale to a killer WWE season, that everything after the show was going to be new. New champions, storylines resolved, and it was the closest thing to a reset button.
This WrestleMania 40 is top 10 WrestleMania of all time. And WrestleMania 40's main event is top 10 main event. I don't care. You can argue with me all you want. I'm up for debates about it. But WrestleMania 40's main event is top tier. It's top 10. It might even be top 5. I don't know if I got it in there yet, but it's top 10 automatically.
That you could get, as should be the case once WrestleMania is done. But here, Mania underwhelmed big time. So to change things up, WWE ran the Superstar Shakeup, and making his way to Monday Night Raw was Baron Corbin. Vignettes are airing about the Lone Wolf, and for fans there's excitement because you're thinking, okay, they've made him fail a cash-in, maybe they see the error in their ways and they want him to become a star. The move to Raw could be a great reboot for his character and career. But boy, oh boy, we didn't see the incoming tsunami. This man wasn't just going to be a part of Monday Night Raw, he was going to take over Monday Night Raw. The overarching theme was Kurt Angle was the general manager and Stephanie McMahon was watching his every move. Anytime something goes wrong, it's Kurt's fault, and wrestlers are using his lack of management skills to their advantage. None more than the man who'd eventually shave his head and become the Constable. A few months into Corbin being there, we found out that he went to WWE HQ and Stephanie has appointed him as Constable of Raw. He became Kurt Angle's sidekick and cut the exact same promo every single week. Give me my respect, I'm here to help you, the Constable will take no BS from you. Then in the summer of 2018, he became the acting general manager of Raw. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the report coming out was that he was seen as attractive from the female fan base, and Vince McMahon absolutely loved that.
Clearly why.
So you essentially have a mid-card heel running around as Raw's top bad guy. He's putting himself in title matches, he's in top storylines against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and the show starts with the same long-winded monologue of nothingness. But hold on, we're just getting started, because Corbin was just a piece of this messy puzzle. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Bobby Lashley. If you take nothing from this video, I want you to keep in mind that this dude right here was able to overcome what could have been career-crippling storylines to become a multiple-time...
I loved him as WWE champion. He was so Diesel here. He Diesel. You couldn't stop Bobby Lashley. Almighty Bobby Lashley was unstoppable. Like I say, he carried Raw. It was a good storyline of the Hurt Business. They ended it too early. And I will never understand why they ended it too early. You can't make it make sense. You just can't.
I'm WWE champion. In 2 years, he had easily two of the worst storylines in the company's existence. You have Lashley making his return, and the goal is to reintroduce him to a wider WWE audience. Who is he? What can he do? And most importantly, why is he back? Naturally, when someone looks like they can destroy you with 4 fingers, that's the direction you take. Instead, Bobby is reintroduced as a very...
Now that I'm thinking about it, we could have got Lashley versus Lesnar this year. WWE, you had it right there. I don't know why you didn't use it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm mad as ever because of that. I told you I wasn't watching around this time, but hearing him, he was back in 2018. They had a perfect opportunity, a perfect moment to do that. Fans been waiting for this dream match to happen. And what happened? It just didn't happen. Because WWE was riding so much on Roman Reigns during this time that they nearly fumbled a good match and a good storyline. Like why? Why have him in the feud with Sami Zayn when he could have been feuding with Lesnar? Just goes to show you. Vince back in the day was pretty bad at booking.
Happy-go-lucky guy who just loves his family. He sits down with Renee Young and he says that all his life he's been all about family. The ones he holds closest are his 3 sisters. Lashley tells us that his sisters used to take him into the woods, tie him up, and leave him there for hours. What went through Vince's head to associate Lashley and getting tied up in a forest, I honestly don't want to know. Now I present you Lashley's first rivalry back. Sami Zayn, a man who wasn't exactly living up to the trajectory that a lot of us had for him when he was done in NXT. Sami came out and told us that he was going to expose Lashley because he's annoyed that Bobby gave him a very serious case of vertigo, and even more annoyed that Lashley decided to make his return to the WWE the same night that he came back to Raw. Sami is also annoyed that Lashley is copying the hat that he wears. Actual words written by a WWE writer. I'm mad at you and I want to fight you because you copied my hat.
Top 5 cringiest storyline ever. That is top 5 cringiest storyline. What the fuck?
Sami said that he was going to expose Lashley, that he hopped on Facebook, and Lashley's sisters have a story to tell. So what is this exposing that he's going to do? Does he have a secret child like Kurt Angle? Was he the one who actually stabbed John Cena in the nightclub? Was he the one who cream pied Kevin Owens? No.
That is still the biggest mystery.
Stabbed John Cena in the nightclub.
I still want to know who pied Kevin Owens in the face. Like, that is the biggest mystery in WWE. Who pied Kevin Owens?
Was he the one who cream pied Kevin Owens? No. Instead, we get an all-time awful segment. A segment that doesn't get ripped on nearly enough as it should. Bobby Lashley and his 3 sisters. If you've been away from the WWE or you haven't watched this, you need to go watch this segment for just how cringe-inducing it is.
I'm not watching this segment. Fuck. Cringy-ass segment.
is, because no words, no clever puns, no script, nothing will be able to describe how asinine this segment was. See, Sammy wants to expose Lashley as a jerk, so he brings out 3 men dressed in drag who are supposed to be Bobby's sisters, and they explain that they each have a comforting object. There's a broom, an army hat, and a towel. The crux of it is that Lashley didn't actually love his sisters, but was instead abusive, so they each used those objects to protect and defend themselves from the evil wrath of Bobby Lashley. The delivery, the believability, and the basis of this was terrible. Fans online ripped into it. So Sammy comes out the next week and WWE essentially admits defeat. Sammy says that he's seen the reaction on social media, that people described it as brutal and cringeworthy, and he's forced to tell us a shocking revelation. Those in fact were not Lashley's sisters, but men Sammy hired to act as Bobby's sisters. That's the low point of this story, but forgotten is how Sammy displayed Bobby's inspirational Instagram quotes on screen, saying that he sent him an anonymous message as a fan, and Bobby replied with a link to his fan club. Then Sammy proceeds to question whether or not Bobby was actually in the army, so he forces him to do an obstacle course. WWE of course runs tribute to the troops, as they have a pretty good relationship with those who serve the country, but they also have a relationship, or did, with the Be a Star campaign, the anti-bullying platform that attempts to send a good message to children and teaches them that they should treat everyone the same. So, as we move to New Orleans for WrestleMania, WWE ran a storyline where Alexa Bliss was making fun of Nia Jax's weight. And a feel-good storyline like that, alright, the bullied overcomes the bullier.
Vince, what the hell were you doing? Ugh, cringe.
Fair, makes sense, I've seen much worse. But after Nia Jax wins the Women's Championship at WrestleMania, later on in this story, the bully essentially wins. WWE then debuts Alexa Bliss's Moment of Bliss. This is framed very similar to the Be a Star promos. Alexa tells us the story of a time where she gave a homeless person the rest of her burrito bowl, but Nia Jax stole it and, quote, gobbled it all down right in front of her. All this while this sad melodramatic music is playing behind her. Before it evolved into the little lounge segment on the stage, this is what a Moment of Bliss was. On episode 2, Alexa's story time is about the time that she and Nia went to Disney World together, and Nia made fun of Alexa by offering her the children's menu, all while she gobbled down turkey legs. I think you understand what the creative team was trying to get at. If the outcome was Nia winning the rivalry, that makes sense, but Alexa cashed in the Money in the Bank a few months later, proving that sometimes the bully does get the last laugh, I guess. But this wasn't it for the Raw Women's division in 2018. A majority of this summer was spent in this really long and drawn out stage of getting Ronda Rousey her first title win, and that made...
Okay, I watched a little bit of Ronda Rousey's first time in WWE, and I ain't even gonna cap. Her first one before WrestleMania. I actually enjoyed it, but after WrestleMania that year, kind of drag. It was kind of drag.
Made everything else suffer big time. On most Mondays, you'd find a slap-together match consisting of Mickie James, Ember Moon, Dana Brooke, Tamina, Natalya, Nia Jax, and Alexa Bliss. Meanwhile, 2 of their biggest stars spent a majority of the year in this really strange storyline where Bayley and Sasha Banks one week would turn on each other before the next week, getting into these weird heated couples debates about why their friendship just couldn't last.
2020 really did save them. 2020 really did save them. It did. We could go about this, but 2020 really did save them.
Each of them taking time to tell the other their flaws and how much they dislike the other woman. This, I kid you not, goes on for a majority of the year, and when it felt like we finally had our big moment with Bayley turning on Sasha, they walked it back with Bayley not justifying her actions, and the two got sent to counseling with Dr. Shelby. So your women's division is a complete mess. Your world champion is nowhere to be found. Baron Corbin is littered everywhere on the show. You had the chance to do some damage with the superstar shakeup. That completely flopped. How else are you filling these 3 hours? Well, here's the pool that WWE is mixing and matching on the weekly. Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose for some reason, Kurt Hawkins, who at one point wrestled James Harden, not that James Harden, this James Harden. Then you have Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy in a random tag team match, all while Elias does a concert on the weekly. Now, I love Elias. He's extremely entertaining and I think he's underappreciated. But what I'm trying to say is you could make out how structured this show was. They were mixing and matching the same talents over and over, and it comes back to what I said off the top. So much filler. But through all of this, there's gotta be one guy who's the company's top attraction. There's gotta be someone who's in RAW.
I will never forgive them for ruining Braun Strowman. I remember seeing clips of Braun Strowman on YouTube, and that man was a monster. He was a big guy. You had the perfect big guy right there. And you fuck him over. How does that happen?
Rivalries that are so strong they compensate for the abysmal television that the company is presenting. There's gotta be one guy, right?
Stupid ass.
Here comes the big dog, the big dog, the big dog, the big dog, the big dog.
If you want me to say that every time, because I said it a shitload of times tonight.
Yes.
I think this story is pretty well documented, but you can't talk about Monday Night Raw during this time and not talk about Roman Reigns. Through controversy, through constant vitriol, through everything, WWE refused to admit defeat with the Roman Reigns big dog character. But it was this imposter syndrome that the WWE and Roman Reigns had, because by label and exposure, he was the top guy. But there was always a backlash attached to him. People saw him as the corporate experiment that the WWE just refused to change. The whole big dog run is a story for another day, but when you have this polarizing character and you're not exactly...
You mastered your mind. And all the while, you were on the train home. Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen.
So you found an awesome job post, but your resume is outdated? No worries. With Adobe Acrobat Pro, super easy.
Hitting with him, it makes things a bit more painful when every week he's walking out and you're told, this is the guy. This is the guy. What makes things worse is his storylines were no good. First off, on the road to WrestleMania, we got Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns main eventing for a second time. Long story short, they made Roman the conquering babyface whose goal was to bring the championship back to Raw from the clutches of the evil part-timer Brock Lesnar. In principle, great, but they tried to over-manufacture this thing. Suspensions, they tried to give him that badass vibe that needs to be organic. It was the same thing they'd been trying for 3 years now. But WWE had Roman lose to Brock. Then they had a rematch at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which Roman lost again. So you're at the point where you have this guy who the fans are divided on, and you just keep teasing and teasing and extending it for longer and longer, and you keep delaying the inevitable to the point where when he finally won the championship, it was more like, did we really have to go through all of that? During this, he also got into a rivalry with Samoa Joe, and
which could have been great. Samoa Joe was literally ridiculed in the WWE. I remember him watching him in NXT in 2016. He was great. WWE really did him dirty. They really did. They really did. And they don't care. They have no conscience. They have no right minds. They have nothing. They real life did him dirty. Man, I'm done.
This had big time potential. The crux of the matter was that Samoa Joe was making fun of Roman because he couldn't beat Brock Lesnar. So this was a side quest within the same story that the company was trying to tell, that the big moment is Roman beating Brock at SummerSlam. When these two main evented Backlash, fans were not having it. They were leaving early and there was no meat on the bone with this story. Fans did not care to see this as a main event. What I'm trying to get at is now you look at Roman Reigns, he's got aura, there's so much importance in all the little things that he does. Here, you guys remember that one time where John Cena called Roman Reigns a financial failure? He talked about how it took him X amount of years to finally get to where WWE wanted him to be. John Cena's words are very true.
Yes.
WWE believed he was the guy, fans did not. After this, he moved into a rivalry with Jinder Mahal. At this point, the company tried so very hard to make fans sympathetic towards him by saying that he can't contend for the WWE Championship. It was extremely contrived, but it was made worse because it just didn't click. In the very slow journey back to Lesnar, we also got Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns, which could have been monstrous. But it comes back to the problem with Raw at this time. They fumbled the rivalries. Nothing about this felt like two big-time guys going at it. It was just a wall for Roman to kick down before winning the Universal title at SummerSlam, which he did. To avoid backlash, they made it more convoluted by having the red herring of Strowman possibly cashing in his Money in the Bank. Roman won, and I kid you not, these guys cut the SummerSlam feed so quick. So in short, that's the strange path of WWE's top guy at the time. But okay, we're in August, Roman is finally world champion, let's get going with Raw.
Finally.
Well, Raw didn't really get better. Roman had to vacate his championship due to circumstances out of his hands. The WWE at this time had put the Shield back together because they needed something to click on Monday nights. Their second reunion in as many years, be it a ratings grab or whatever, it didn't last long. The night Roman vacated, Ambrose turned on Rollins. And oh brother, there's this just perfectly personified WWE Raw in 2018. This man proceeds to be
Fans were not expecting that heel turn at all. You could tell by the genuine faces.
become a germaphobe who burns his Shield vest, and he's cutting this promo on Rollins in which he says that Roman got exactly what he deserved. With the character, they made him tell everyone that they smelt really bad, and then on maybe the most awful Raw of the year, Dean Ambrose gets an injection in his ass. This Raw also featured Elias and Bobby Lashley in a no DQ match, the Revival versus the Lucha House Party in a Lucha House Party rules match, Ronda Rousey and Natalya brawling with the Riot Squad, Drake Maverick stealing Bobby Roode's robe and then putting it in the toilet and pissing on it, No Way Jose versus Jinder Mahal, and Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin on one episode of Raw.
I am cringing so hard. Raw was really bad in 2018, bruh. It can't get any worse than this, can it?
Not to mention that Ambrose would later rock up with a SWAT team and a gas mask. Seriously, if not evident by now, the writing of this show was a huge failure. It felt like everything was happening out of the blue and nothing mattered. Week to week, things were changing without any given
Now, I am really glad I wasn't watching during this time. I'm really glad. Whew.
justification. By year's end, Raw was the most nothing of nothing burgers. We got Bobby Lashley, who now found Lio Rush and decided to point his ass into the camera for reasons that we'll never know. We had jokes like Drake Maverick wetting himself, so it was the authors of Piss.
You're in trouble now because
Oh my god.
what? You're in!
Heath Slater became Baron Corbin's personal referee because he got kids. After Natalya's dad, Jim Neidhart, passed away, Ruby Riott tells Natalya that she needs a counselor before revealing a table with Jim's face on it. Barn burners like Bobby Roode versus Connor from The Ascension, Bayley versus Alicia Fox. What happened on the Christmas episode, you might ask? Mr. McMahon Claus revealed the new Women's Tag Team Championships.
Of course
Braun
he did.
Strowman confronted Paul Heyman by calling him Heyman the Red-Nosed Advocate, and then Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins. Weeks before this match, Seth Rollins had came out and echoed the sentiments of WWE fans by saying that Raw was a complete disaster and it all had to do with Baron Corbin. And it felt like there was some truth to the way he was spitting this, talking about underutilized talents and how the morale was at an all-time low backstage. So you could see that WWE knew that they were doing something wrong. So what happens? The entire McMahon administration comes out and they basically admit defeat. We've seen just how bad it's been, and now we'll fix it. We haven't been listening to the audience, we've been suffocating the superstars, and now things are going to change. but also when you apologize, that apology is only valid if you commit to fixing things and not making the same mistake. Plus, this was like the 4th time we'd heard this speech. So as we moved on to 2019, how much changed? Well, not that much. The year started off with a lot of the same. Baron Corbin littered everywhere, Mojo Rawley was locked up in a room, and this gimmick went nowhere, so it was just weeks wasted. Elias concerts, Lashley versus Balor, and we were back to square one with Brock Lesnar as the brand's top champion and nowhere to be found. The road to WrestleMania I thought was strong. On the Raw side, you had Becky Lynch's Raw.
That's how it starts off every year. Well, 2015, 2016. The road to WrestleMania was kind of weak, but they really had good WrestleManias. Well, 2016 WrestleMania was kind of mid. But 2015 road to WrestleMania was kind of trash considering the word Rumble, but the WrestleMania was top perfect. And the same thing with 2019. Well, 2019 road to WrestleMania and the WrestleMania itself was fine. But the WrestleMania was just so damn long. So damn long. Like, I remember trying to stay awake for that WrestleMania. Because I remember seeing, like, Kofi get that moment. Seth Rollins get that moment. The Miz. Finn Balor. Like, all that. I tried to stay awake for that main event. But damn, I was so asleep at that time. I was really about to go to sleep because I had to go to school in the morning. Bruh, I'm mad I missed that main event. Because I really don't remember that. Only match I remember watching from that night was Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, and Finn Balor. That's the only match I remember. Oh my God, I tried so hard to stay awake.
Rise, Triple H and Batista was the nostalgia rivalry, and then you had Seth challenging Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Much like the previous year, when all was said and done after WrestleMania, Raw went full experimental and it just became weird. A major thread throughout this video is the curse of the Universal Championship. Unfortunately, nothing seemed to go right, and then Seth Rollins came along. The perfect guy to build Raw up again. Literally,
2019 Seth Rollins was absolutely great. I'm gonna kind of miss him. I like the current character we got today of him, but I kind of miss 2019 Seth Rollins because he was actually doing something. Yeah.
he fell into their lap, and
like clips of him I've seen on YouTube was him being a badass. Like he actually was going after Brock Lesnar. Like 2015, he was running from Brock Lesnar. Now 2019, he was running to Brock Lesnar.
and then everything fell apart. Shout out Zebrahead. So in 2018, Seth Rollins wins the Intercontinental Championship, and he tries so very hard to be a glimmer of light on Mondays. Puts on banger matches, tries to squeeze out the best of whoever he was going against, and contrasting Roman Reigns, since Seth was more so bubbling under the surface, the mega push Roman was getting, Seth was better suited for that. Essentially, what they were trying to do with Reigns having to be the person of the people and trying to get the championship back to Raw was better served with Seth. They had a chance to wash out all the bad, hit a reset button, but that's what makes what came next so much more painful. The title reign kicked off with a bang with a solid rivalry against AJ Styles heading into Money in the Bank. Rollins then spent the next few weeks waiting for Brock Lesnar to make a decision on who he'd cash in on, because
the Brock party was funny. Like the Brock party was funny. I ain't gonna cap. I seen the Brock party. It was kind of funny.
Remember, the thing with Boombox Brock was he had no idea that Money in the Bank had a 1-year time cap on it. The problem for Rollins' reign was a lack of quality opponents. Actually, scratch that, the opponents he was presented. You could have had him in a program against Samoa Joe, who was busy chasing the US Championship.
Screw up again twice on him. He literally could have been battling Seth Rollins. But no, they had to make him a mid-carder when he could have been a title carder too. Like he could have been a top guy in WWE. They fumbled him bad. 2 superstars I will never forgive WWE for fumbling. Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe. Just goes to show you.
Or Drew McIntyre, who was busy being Shane's heavy. Don't worry, I'm getting to that. His opponent was Baron Corbin, and WWE didn't seem to have a direction with what they wanted to do next because they kept Brock Lesnar in the fold. We get a rematch between Corbin and Rollins at Stomping Grounds, with the big tease being a mystery special guest referee. That person ends up being Lacey Evans, who was feuding with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins were the 1 and 2s for WWE this year. They were the 2 most popular superstars on the brand, and they'd also revealed that they were dating one another. Once WWE got their hands on this and brought that relationship to TV, oh brother, they decided to tell us a copious amount of times that Seth and Becky were dating. And instead of being the cool, badass underdog, Seth Rollins became the man's man, which didn't help either of the two considering how hot they were. Particularly, this impacted Seth Rollins, who the company wanted to present as more cool. There was a report that came out that WWE didn't really see it with Seth Rollins. They wanted him to be cooler. They wanted him to have more of a badass vibe to him.
He already had a badass vibe to him. Why they were trying so desperate? That's what I'm saying. Vince really don't know how to push his talent more. Triple H knows how to. Well, some guys he really don't like. But even though some guys he really don't like, he really push. Because I heard he really don't like Damian Priest, but he knows how to push him. Man, oh man. This was a year from hell. I tell you.
They wanted a badass factor for him and thought that Becky Lynch would help. They have no idea what to do with the character. Anyways, Brock Lesnar cashed in the Money in the Bank in a very pointless cash-in to win the Universal Championship, and these two had a match at SummerSlam, which was epic. But on the road to this rematch, they tried a little bit too hard to make it was epic. Win the Universal Championship, and these two had a match at SummerSlam, which was epic. But on the road to this rematch, they tried a little bit too hard to make Seth Rollins sound cool. They tried a little bit too hard to make Seth Rollins into what they thought he should be. They had him deliver some cringe dialogue and assume that if Brock Lesnar just beats him up a bunch, that Seth is going to look like a badass because he refuses to stay down.
Brock Lesnar! If you're gonna do it, put some steak on it, because I'm about to go out there and burn it down!
And then things got worse, because after he won the Universal Championship back and had a brief feud with Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins met The Fiend. In these years of nothingness emerges this cool supernatural retool of Bray Wyatt, something that was dollar signs for the WWE, and as fans for us,
Nah, I know Vince did that on purpose. He ruined The Fiend on purpose. Cause why would you put him in a title early? A title match so early. Like, why would you do that? Didn't have the nerve to ruin a nerve to ruin the match between them. Like, why would you do that, Vince? Why?
it was so exciting. It was something that we hadn't seen in a long time or ever before. Their next supernatural character was right there, and all they had to do was play the slow game. Right. All they had to do was be very meticulous with what rivalries he was in. But WWE immediately put him into the Universal title picture, and that was the beginning of the end. Rollins, the babyface in this, went to burn down the Firefly Funhouse, because this was a time where WWE took things a little bit too literal. Oh, burn it down? Let's have him actually burn something down. Anyways, poor Bray Wyatt through this looked like the babyface as he begs Seth not to burn down his funhouse, and Seth does it anyways.
Why are you doing this to me? Please, Seth. Please stop. Burn it down.
Then you get the whole Hell in a Cell debacle. Then they get shoehorned into having to put the title on Bray because they know that they messed up. Caught in the middle of all of this is Rollins, who went from this shining beacon of hope, this guy who was going to carry Monday Night Raw, to just a fumbled character, and it was WWE who ended up doing it, because if you remember, leading into WrestleMania, Seth Rollins just being Seth Rollins was completely fine. By the end of the year, Seth was forced to change his character because instead of the company getting their way and making him cool, it had the opposite effect. This was detrimental to Seth, Bray, and Becky. Leading into Extreme Rules, Becky and
booked poorly. Booked poorly. Oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't watch around this time, because seeing him get brought down like that, oh my God. I'm so glad I wasn't watching around that time. Seen clips of it, and I was like, okay, WWE ain't making the right decisions for this. Seth Rollins really got done dirty. He really did. And it wasn't even his fault. Booking decisions like that really brings your character down. Because before he was presented as a hero, like he was presented as a badass. Then he had to turn heel because of the way they drastically brought down his character with poor booking decisions. WWE, what were you doing at this time? Oh Lord.
and Seth were competing in mixed tag team matches, one of which was against Maria and Mike Kanellis. During this match, Maria revealed that she was pregnant, and she just continued to insult Mike Kanellis, telling him that he wasn't man enough to get her pregnant. Vince McMahon was a big fan of these cuck storylines, so Mike Kanellis is Maria's whipping boy who's forced to get her ice cream and pickles. Then she tells Mike that she's not sure if he's the one who impregnated her in the first place, and Maria's just consistently calling Mike a loser. The whole thing underlyingly is a motivation tactic. At one point,
streaming.
Maria says that the father is actually Ricochet. Then later on, Maria says that the dad to her unborn child is Rusev. I want you to hold on to that bit of information because it'll become very important at the end of the video. But to get the full Vince McMahon experience, I want to backtrack to after WrestleMania 35, because a few weeks after we had the Superstar shakeup came the wildcard rule, which initially killed off the brand split. One of these superstars who took the opportunity to bounce between both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown was the best in the world, Shane McMahon. This man was the second coming of Hulk Hogan because nothing worked for him, brother. He was at the top. In 2019, this man, after winning the World Cup the year previous, was everywhere. See, they painted this thing out to be a huge ego trip for Shane, but the execution was poor to the point where it was at go-away heat. We got the holy alliance of Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre, and then the third guy would just kind of rotate. So Shane's beefing whoever he wants, particularly the top star in Roman Reigns because he punched his dad in the face. This leads to riveting television like Gary the Goat Garbett and Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre and Shane to headline Raw. The big payoff to this is having Cedric Alexander be revealed as the masked janitor the two spoke to earlier on the show, only for this to go nowhere. Very on brand with the compulsive booking I mentioned in the intro.
Cedric, I gotta apologize to you. They booked you so wrong. Oh my God. It's cringe after cringe after cringe.
To this video. At this point, I want to kill myself. Crazier is that WWE almost put the WWE Championship on him in that summer. They were attempting to have Shane McMahon as the company's top star in 2019. Imagine Kofi losing to Shane. Genuinely, if it feels like I'm being harsh in this video, ask anyone who sat through this stuff. Of course there was good in there if you look for it, but the bad outweighed the good by a landslide. It felt like we weren't watching something that was for us to enjoy, but rather just a manifestation of Vince McMahon's inside jokes and wrestling fantasies to amuse himself. Nowhere was that more evident than Usi Hot. A take on the Icy Hot Pain Relief Cream. And if I were to say Usos and Revival in today's WWE, that's something that's going crazy. That could have been one of the most competitive tag rivalries. It could have been something that rejuvenated the tag division and gave us in-ring epics. Instead, once the Usos moved over to Raw from SmackDown, they started to troll the Revival, saying that they were boring. Later, they found Dash Wilder shaving Scott Dawson's back.
Lord.
A few weeks later, the Usos snuck into the Revival's locker room, and I guess they replaced their cream with Usi Hot. This cream was applied in their southern regions, and to the pinpoint second, the Usos knew exactly when this cream would activate. So you get a visual of the Revival wiping their ass on the canvas, scratching their balls, itching, scratching, clawing, just trying to get the Usi Hot to melt away. On the stage are the Usos, who tell them that the only way to fix this is water, which the Revival then pour onto their cream, and this only makes things worse. The Usos tell them they were supposed to drink it, not pour it on their little Us. Speaking of Us, let's talk about the honorary Us, Sami Zayn. Now, I want you guys to really take in just how much BS this man went through before finally getting his big break and finally becoming what he is today. He was comedic relief, he was given terrible gimmicks, he was never given a chance to shine. Much like the year beforehand, WWE again tried to hit the reset button with Sami Zayn. They gave him a brand new character in which he would make fun of the fans, saying that they were toxic, and it was these exact types of characters that fans were just tired of and didn't want. He'd come out on the weekly saying that the fans were the problem, and it never really amounted to anything aside from the electric chair segment. In the summer, Raw became unhinged. Matches were restarted as 2 out of 3 falls matches because Vince McMahon didn't...
Dang, open the door for Samik. No, like, she gonna ring the bell. No, she gonna ring the bell.
Want wrestling during commercial breaks. We got the 24/7 championship and all hell.
I gotta say, our team really carried that title.
Just completely broke loose. 2019 was definitely not as bad as 2018 Monday Night Raw. But how did we end the year? We ended the year in the most WWE 2019 way possible. If you've sat through this, if you've relived the pain with me, there's just one more storyline that we have to go through. See, this was a year where Raw went heavy into the relationship drama, good or bad. Seth and Becky, Renee and Drake, Maria and Mike, and then to end the year, Bobby and Lana. One Raw out of nowhere, Lana appeared on stage during one of Rusev's matches, and then she randomly started to make out with Bobby Lashley. So the next week, Lashley interrupts Rusev from Rusev's home, wearing his robe in his bed, ready to, reverse the name Lana. So why was Lana doing this? Whoop.
What the? Yo, I just realized that. Oh my god.
What was the reason for her infidelity? Well, she told us that Rusev only wanted one thing. He only wanted one thing in the kitchen, in the morning, in the afternoon, at the doctor's office, at WrestleMania, and that for YouTube purposes was Machka Town appointments. So she told...
When you write, your tone influences how readers respond. With Grammarly, just highlight your text and type...
Tells us that Rusev is addicted to sex. So Lana said that Rusev just wanted to put a baby inside of her, to which Rusev's response was no, he could never. And poor Rusev, talk about a guy who got fumbled by the WWE. He's forced to say that he loves Lana and he's just trying to get her back, and he just looks like a complete geek. Then Lana out of the blue says that Rusev cheated on her, out comes Lashley, and the two beat down Rusev. Now, if you remember earlier, Rusev was at one point revealed to be the father.
Hold on, y'all. I gotta get my little nephew out the car. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Space.
Take your boots off. Come on, take the other one off. Alright, take a coat. Put your hand in your sleeve. Oh, it's cutting great, huh? Alright, get up there. Try to stay right here. Listen, lay down. Lay down. Okay. Alright, y'all, I'm back. Alright, let me keep him on reacting, then I gotta get off because my nephew here.
Of Maria's unborn child.
Ooh.
There's no mention of that anywhere in this storyline. So naturally, alright, wrestling angle, they fight, pretty commonplace. That's the whole basis of this thing, right? Lashley, though, can't fight because he's torn his groin doing, things to Lana. The writing of the storyline then suggests that the truth is that Lana cheated on Rusev and now she's pregnant. But it's actually Rusev's kid because Lana's 9 weeks pregnant but has only been seeing Bobby Lashley for 7. Lana then says, "Psych, I don't actually have a kid inside of me," and gets a restraining order in which Rusev can't get within 90 miles of her. She butchers this because she actually means 90 feet. The whole angle is just bad, but it's made 15.5 times more worse by A, Lana losing her accent, and B, her awful acting.
Rusev cheated on me.
What?
The year on Monday Night Raw comes to an end with a wedding angle. Lana and Lashley are going to be married happily ever after, and all of this is happening while the people who play Rusev and Lana are actually married to one another, now made worse by the fact that the two are divorced. Paul Heyman, genuinely, what were you trying to do here? But okay, things are about to end. The year is almost over. Lana worse by the fact that the two are divorced. Paul Heyman, genuinely, what were you trying to do here? But okay.
Come on, Paul Heyman. That can't be you.
Things are about to end. The year is almost over. Lana, Lashley, you're married unless anyone objects. And then out of nowhere comes Liv Morgan, who stops the wedding because the love of her life was right there. And she wasn't talking about Lashley. She was talking about Lana. Terrible acting from Liv, who is in this storyline for all of 5 minutes, only to never be brought in again. This ends with a brawl between Liv and Lana, and it's the WWE. You knew the second that you saw a big ass cake that Rusev was inside. And that was your lasting image of Monday Night Raw from 2019. Genuinely, how did Bobby Lashley recover from this? A year and a bit later, he became the WWE Champion after being in two of the absolute worst storylines in just as many years. May Lashley's sisters and Lana and Lashley rest in peace. Now, 2020 didn't get any better, but that's a story for another time.
Now, I actually kind of like 2020 storyline. Well, up to the Thunderdome era, to the Thunderdome era, I actually liked. The pandemic era, not so much.
Already spent a month subjecting myself to awful television. If I did 2020, I think I'd actually go insane. So in conclusion, Raw during these 2 years was very bad. Authority figures running absolutely wild, repeat matches, the inability to build new stars, the WWE being adamant about their way being the right way, some awful storylines that led to one of the worst time periods in the Red Brand's history.
And that just goes to show you how much Vince really didn't have it anymore as a booking. And Triple H now has the better booking power. Shout out to Super K Studios for this video. Because this video really opened me. Because I wasn't watching WWE around this time. And I never knew how genuinely bad 2018 and 2019 really were for Raw. So you just going to interrupt me like that? Yeah. Oh boy, quiet. I want quiet. You hear me? I want quiet. But yeah. But back to this. Whew. Shout out to you, Super K Studios. You really did your number on that. You gotta use the bathroom? Go use the bathroom. He gotta use the bathroom. But again, shout out to Super Kick Studios for this video because he really breaks it down well how bad these booking decisions were. It was so bad. I genuinely really hate these stories. I'm genuinely literally cringing from this. I think next video I'll talk about bad Royal Rumbles, but tonight I got a few things here. Thank you all so much for tuning into this video, and if you really enjoyed this content, make sure you guys follow my Twitch, follow my YouTube, and really get me followers on TikTok. Shut up, boy. Put your hands up. Anyways, I gotta end the live video here. But thank y'all so much for tuning in.